At this time, we're talking to Ricardo. We're talking interns in the entertainment industry today. Ricardo, good to talk to you. You work for Lionsgate. I was looking up some of the famous Lionsgate's movies over the years. There's some real bangers in there, like John Wick, Sicario. Do you have any favorite Lionsgate films from your time working there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you mentioned, the John Wick franchise is something that really is kind of one of our tentpole franchises. The Hunger Games is another
Oh
one
yeah,
that's huge that we're excited about. That we have a new movie coming out as well soon. There, I think one of my favorite movies during my time is actually this movie. It's a movie called The Blackening. You definitely got to go check that out. It's a comedy, kind of like a scary movie type,
nice.
fun. Yeah, it's just a fun movie. So go check that out.
Yeah, and then your talent career didn't start in the entertainment or movie industry. How did you get into the talent recruitment world to start with?
Yeah, I mean, I actually went to school I studied communications and journalism. I wanted to be a sports writer. I actually became a sports writer after college, wrote for a newspaper up in the Bay Area and covered high school sports. And, my dream was to work for the LA Times and cover the Lakers, right? That was kind of what I grew up. I grew up here in LA. And so that was, the Dodgers and the Lakers, and I'm a big sports fan. And so that was kind of my goal. Was able to do that a little bit in the sense of like, covering high school and going through like that whole process of getting internships through journalism opportunities and so with that though came to a point where decided to the industry was changing and shifting and needed to kind of make a career decision and so decided to shift and went to landed at the Posse Foundation, which
Yeah.
is a nonprofit organization that helps students gain access to college and different career opportunities. And that was kind of like I probably had no business even making that transition. I think someone gave me a shot. I think my experience with landing internships as a college student
Mm.
helped me sort of give that and share that knowledge with students. And really, that's kind of where it started. I think my job at that organization was pretty much handled their career program,
Mm.
which was like building relationships with different companies and organizations that wanted to, hire our students into their internship program. And so, help with interviews and resumes and all of that, and just getting them competitive for that process. So in that process, I was able to develop my own network with the entertainment industry specifically just because I grew up loving movies and watching movies all the time. And whenever we would go to an on-site visit or something and we would watch the trailers or be in the studio or whatever, and it was just like this just inherently fun business. And so that's how I then decided like I wanted to potentially transition into that space. And when an opportunity came about to make that transition, I was able to kind of put my name in the hat there, and luckily someone again took a chance on me, and been there ever since. Been in the industry now, I believe 11 years now, 11 years in entertainment, specifically in HR and recruitment. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. So it's just like a winding road. Doesn't all make sense, initially, but when you get to the end, then you kind of see the connectivity along the
Yeah.
way.
And right, the kind of stereotype for LA is people come from all over the world to try to make it in Hollywood, but usually they're thinking about the actor side of things, not necessarily the industry side of things. Like, how do
Right.
you think through intern programs as it relates to people getting on the industry side, all the other jobs we know that it takes to make movies or films actually show
Yeah.
up on screen?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a huge part of my role in that, I always kind of consider myself an educator in many ways, right? Because sort of sharing these opportunities and talking about different pathways into the industry that don't necessarily mean like traditional creative roles. Like obviously, students or kids might grow up thinking I want to be a director or an actor or something like that, which you can completely do. And you definitely, if that's something that a path that you want to take, you definitely should go all in on that. But there are other, entry points and pathways in the entertainment industry. Everything from like, roles that are done at all other industries like accounting and finance and those types of roles, business leaning roles, marketing, distribution, these things that you don't really think about when you are pursuing, potentially initially thinking about a career in entertainment. And so, connecting those dots for, kind of that next generation of students coming up that maybe didn't think about those types of roles is something that I do all the time. And sometimes it's just in a conversation, we're talking about interests and saying, oh, you like doing that? Have you thought about this? And this is something that we do here that we're looking for your particular skill set or what your interests are. And then it kind of, the light bulb goes off or something, right? And it's like, okay, I can kind of take that path. And then it puts them on, a different journey, but still within kind of the passion of like film and movies and content and storytelling. Those are all things that we all have, and everyone in the entertainment industry has. But that's sort of the core that you might need, because obviously the big picture is we put out content and we want to tell these stories to reach global audiences. But there's a team effort and there's so many ways to do it. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be those traditional or stereotypical roles that everyone thinks of.
And do you feel like every talent recruiter who works in industry, should they commit to doing an intern program? Is that something you feel like works specifically well to entertainment but wouldn't work other places? How would you sort of advise talent professionals to think about this sort of concept of having interns or having a career internship program?
Yeah, I mean, I think the internship program in many ways is a training ground, right? And it's an opportunity to tap into that talent early on. I think companies, and most companies, do invest in an internship program, and leaders really do get excited about it. When leaders get excited about the internship program, I should say, and invest in the program, I think there is a connectivity, and the value proposition is you're offering this individual professional development, this student, an opportunity to grow, and you're really kind of matriculating individuals into the industry. I've always thought about that. Obviously, we want to build our pipeline into Lionsgate or wherever company that you're recruiting for. You want them to come to you. I think there is this. Uh, there's another sort of vision of like, hey, we're building the talent for the industry, and then if you are able to give an opportunity for someone to develop professionally and then they go out into the world or into the industry, they may come back. So it's always just that idea of like building that next generation. For me, the internship program does that, and it allows also, I mean, it's for intern hiring leaders and our leaders on the company side, right? It's ways to like get involved, to give back, to be a mentor, to coach, and so there's some professional development there too, because we're always continually growing, right, as professionals, and so it's a definitely a two way street, and both parties definitely benefit from it.
Yeah. And I think I saw on LinkedIn y'all just wrapped your summer internship program. How did that go? Who was in the program? What kind of experiences did they have over the last couple of weeks or months?
Yeah, we're actually wrapping up here soon. We have 2 more weeks into the program. We run a 10-week program, summer program at Lionsgate, and yeah, I mean, essentially all business functions are represented essentially in the program. So everything from production and development, like I mentioned, there's production, accounting, and finance. There's marketing, there's social media, so just really across the board. And so all students from pretty much everywhere across the country. Obviously it's a competitive process, and we treat it just like an interview process. Hiring new hires, they interview and whatnot, and so it's they once they're here, we treat them like employees, right? I always say that, like, you're a full-time employee now. Like, it's up to you to kind of now go out and build those relationships. Obviously, we try to ensure that there's like a 10-week plan for them, so that they're building their skill set. They're getting access to meetings and to leaders, and just understanding how to navigate the professional setting. Sometimes they're all coming in. These students, they blow my mind every summer. They're so smart. They're so articulate. They're so thoughtful. They're very strategic. They share so much insight in meetings, and they come in and they're acting like they're VPs and CEOs, right? Offering ideas, and sometimes a lot of teams run with it. An intern that suggested a campaign for like a marketing campaign or like a social media campaign, went with that, or they read scripts and they offer their thoughts on that. And if they because we're tapping into that, right, that they're representing a generation and a demographic that we,
Mhm.
with, as creating content, we want
You need them.
where
Yeah.
that it connects with them. And so they obviously have an insight, not that they're speaking for an entire generation, but they have that insight that we can kind of take, and leaders do that across the board, not only just with the creative ideas, but more so also with like process stuff, or like how can we do things more efficiently, and what programs can we use? What are you using now? And we can kind of implement that. So a lot of times interns do come in and do that. And so that's why there's so much like value there, again, for both parties.
Awesome. Well, last thing, if folks want to work at Lionsgate with you, if folks want to be involved in the internship program, how should they find you, or what kind of steps should they take to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, as far as connecting with me directly, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm, always happy to, touch base and answer questions there. As far as the program specifically, we have a summer only program, and we typically post at the end of January or early February, and so at that point, you just go to our website. And our careers website, and you can find our postings there, and then you would apply there directly. And again, it's one of those things where it's a competitive process, but ultimately we do get down to our classes are fairly small, right? Anywhere between 20 to throughout the years, it's been about 20 to 50 people in a class, compared to some of the bigger studios. And it's a little bit of a smaller class. I know for some of the smaller studios, that might be kind of a big class too. We're kind of in the middle there, but yeah, that's essentially it. We typically post. I usually post it on LinkedIn when our postings go live, and we do get a lot of applicants. So I feel like our program is very much a meaningful experience. Obviously, we want you and whoever it is that comes on board to feel like you're learning and that you're growing professionally. You have a lot of access, and that you can hopefully leverage that, as I mentioned, not only for an opportunity at Lionsgate, but in the industry.
Love it. Sounds good. We'll put that info into the episode description. Ricardo, thanks so much for coming on. Everyone, make sure to go to the movies, support the cinema. We need you in the seats for all the, not just summer blockbusters, but everything in between. And thanks for listening. You can catch all the episodes of At This Time, all the places you get your podcasts, and then catch Ricardo and I in stunning 4K on YouTube. Until next time, we'll catch you soon.